Yeah, well, greetings to the ambassadors. We're thrilled to have you, of course, and greetings to everybody else, including even the fake news, who I'm sure is reporting there in the back.
There's a lot of fake news.
I'm sure
they're all lined up.
I'm sure there are. I can see.
Experts have noted that Donald Trump has struggled to present a softened stance on abortion. In fact, this is the best he's come up with.
Elon Musk is reportedly spending nearly every day with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. But don't worry, Elon will leave as soon as he finishes listing all the dinosaurs in alphabetical.
Stop scrolling. MergeNat NCY broadcast. J.D. Vance has officially declared war on SNL after the hosts roasted him like they were reading a forbidden spell from Hogwarts. Now he's demanding the whole show be cancelled, yes, the entire thing, like he's rage-quitting Netflix. But what joke triggered the meltdown? Did SNL actually cross a line, or did JD wake up allergic to comedy, clutch a family-size bag of snacks, and assemble his emotional support pillow team? Strap in. This one gets louder than a YouTube comment section on 2x speed.
When he criticized our immigration policy in the way that he has, we are not called as Christians to obsess over every social media controversy.
President Trump also announced a new trade deal with the UK that will reopen British markets for American companies. All that Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
Donald Trump announced he is selling limited edition gold sneakers for $400. You can check them out on the feed of the guy getting dragged off your flight.
Colin Jost and Michael Che didn't just roast J.D. Vance, they unleashed a full-scale comedy hurricane, the kind that twists so fast Trump probably felt the wind all the way from Florida. The punchlines hit so hard J.D.'s ego slid right off the desk, and of course Trump's name got dragged into the crossfire. Because chaos in American politics is never considered complete unless he somehow gets caught in the blast radius.
Your fake news eyes peering up at me, I'm sure, ready to misreport everything that I've said today. But no, we love you guys too. Kind of.
I don't know, I just feel like as a Catholic, Trump's photo just feels slightly disrespectful. Also, if Trump really wants to be Pope, he should probably stay away from J.D. Vice President J.D. Vance, seen here watching the plane leave Greenland without him, continued his sad reboot of Veep this week by visiting our military base there and delivering the administration's clearest threat so far. Either Greenland joins the U.S. or the U.S. will keep sending them.
Wait a second. Loving the video? Then make it official, hit that subscribe button and stick around for more fire content, because the best is still loading. Alright, back to the chaos. Che is left absolutely stunned as Trump inserts himself into the situation with the timing of a man physically incapable of missing a spotlight. The world hadn't even finished laughing before Trump tried to yank the attention back toward himself, insisting that the real issue wasn't the roast at all. No, according to him, the real problem was comedy itself, television, left-leaning jokes, and basically anything he could blame before admitting that humor exists and other people are allowed to enjoy it.
Many leaders in the Middle East are crediting President Trump with brokering the Israel-Hamas ceasefire, but it makes perfect sense to me because sometimes crazy people only listen to other crazy people. Like when you see a guy jacketing on the subway, you don't just ask him to stop. No, you got to take off your pants too. And
the White House also announced that Vice President J.D. Vance will travel to the Vatican for Pope Leo's inaugural Mass. And I'm not a huge fan of his outfit.
Still, Trump pushed on, determined to turn JD's embarrassing moment into a full-blown political drama. Colin notes that every headline JD hoped would quietly fade somehow mutated into headlines splashing both their names side by side. Trump's attempted rescue had all the subtlety of a marching band in a library, loud, chaotic, and impossible to ignore. Instead of calming the storm, he cranked the volume and made the whole spectacle even bigger.
Volodymyr Zelensky has said that if President Trump provides Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles, he will nominate Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. You know, the prize they give you for selling missiles. There was outrage this week over a leaked group chat between Republican leaders which praised Hitler and referred to black Americans as watermelon people. The chat was named Jost's Family.
What did I do to you?
J.D. Vance's reaction escalated with the urgency of someone watching their PR score freefall in real time. His crusade against SNL suddenly felt personal. He swung at comedy like it was a bill up for a vote. The outrage begged for dignity, yet every move radiated pure "I cannot believe I'm getting roasted on cable TV" energy. The irony? Chef's kiss. While JD treated the jokes like a national emergency, Colin Jost delivered his lines with the serene composure of a man casually dismantling someone's public image for entertainment value.
Yesterday, President Trump finally released what everyone has been asking him to release.
Nice.
George Santos, the former Republican congressman who had pled guilty to fraud and something called aggravated identity theft, which I think is when you push someone into a closet and switch clothes with them, is now free and will face zero consequences. But Santos says that he's a changed man, and he even released a photo of his new prison body.
Michael Che followed up with that laid-back swagger that basically said, "This is comedy, not a diplomatic summit. Sit down and take your L." The crowd erupted. The internet combusted. People replayed the clip like it was the finale of their favorite show. Someone definitely turned it into a ringtone. Someone else absolutely set it as their morning alarm. If humiliation had a subscription tier, J.D. Vance accidentally signed up for the deluxe annual unlimited package. Trump's attempts to defend J.D. didn't soften anything, they magnified it. He jumped into interviews, ranted across social media, popped up on friendly networks, and every time he mentioned SNL, the viewership spike got louder. He tried to shield J.D. from mockery, but it looked less like protection and more like holding up a massive neon sign reading, "Please roast US harder." And comedy did what comedy always does when poked with a stick, it multiplied. Memes went critical. Reaction channels swarmed. YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, every platform locked arms and laughed in beautiful, synchronized harmony. Even grandparents joined in. Some posted GIFs without knowing what they were, but the laughter was universal.
Attorney General Pam Bondi claimed that if not for Donald Trump seizing fentanyl at the border, 75% of all Americans could be dead. But hey, don't threaten us. President Trump addressed a joint session of Congress and claimed that no president has changed government faster than him. Yeah, and nobody changed airport security faster than bin Laden. President Trump responded to a report showing the U.S. economy was declining by posting, "Be patient. And if his brain gets any worse, he's gonna be patient."
J.D. Vance fought harder. Trump fought louder. Neither seemed to realize the world wasn't listening to them anymore. The world was listening to the joke. Colin Jost stayed silent, the most elegant form of dominance. No rebuttal, no follow-up, no playful jab. Just that calm, deliberate silence that said, "My work here is finished." And the world nodded along. J.D. kept swinging. Trump kept boosting the volume. And with every attempt, the internet's obsession with that single 6-minute segment only grew. There was no political strategy in sight, no advisors pulling the emergency brake, because the train had already blown past logic at full speed. Each outburst turned a simple comedy sketch into a full-on case study in pride, sensitivity, and the chaos that erupts when powerful people try to confiscate laughter. Trump cast himself as the noble defender against comedy while simultaneously ensuring everyone kept watching it. J.D. positioned himself as the wronged victim while announcing his outrage loudly enough for the entire planet to tune in. Together, they unintentionally created a storyline reality TV could only dream of. Two political figures trying to duel with punchlines, and getting defeated by the replay button.
While traveling on Air Force One to the Middle East to celebrate the ceasefire, President Trump told reporters, "I don't think there's anything that's going to get me into heaven." Then he paused for 10 full minutes, waiting for someone to say, "That's not true." Because Trump can't go to heaven. He's far. And in legal news where someone definitely won't get convicted, Donald Trump is being investigated for fraud by New York's Attorney General, who wants to depose Trump under oath on.
The internet crowned the moment instantly. This wasn't just a roast, it was a cultural checkpoint. People slipped it into conversations the way they reference sports highlights. JD's supporters tried to defend him, while still laughing. Trump's supporters tried to deflect blame, while still quoting the memes. Every interview, every rant, every "this is unacceptable" outburst only reminded the public that the original joke existed. They didn't bury the joke, they watered it, fed it, and helped it grow.
President Trump impersonated a transgender weightlifter in a speech to graduates at the University of Alabama, which is a sentence so stupid it couldn't even get into the University of Alabama. President Trump, while on his trip, said that Iran has sort of agreed to terms for a nuclear deal in the same way Trump has sort of agreed to uphold the Constitution. Many people in Saudi Arabia were very happy with President Trump's visit to the country because rich Saudis love to fly out.
The public had already moved from laughing to studying the meltdown like it was a historic turning point. Commentators transformed into amateur anthropologists, examining how politicians behave when their egos collide with late-night comedy. They broke down J.D. Vance's outrage, Trump's booming commentary, and the internet's complete inability to stop laughing. It was the digital equivalent of staring at a bonfire and saying, "You know what? Let's toss in some fireworks just to see what happens." Trump kept inserting himself into the narrative, sometimes overshadowing J.D. entirely. He couldn't help it, chaos is his natural habitat. Every time cameras rolled, he framed the roast as a catastrophic cultural event, inflating the situation until it sounded like comedy had personally stormed the Capitol. The country didn't buy it, but they watched it. And that was enough fuel to keep the chaos multiplying. J.D. Vance tried to regain control, talking louder, appearing more often, insisting the real issue was moral decline, not a bruised ego. But no one was listening to the message. People were only tuned in to see whether he was still mad about the joke. Show confidence? The story dies. Show irritation? The comments section gets another victory lap. Every time he flinched emotionally, the internet celebrated like it was a championship game.
Longest government shutdown in history finally ended after 43 days. And you know, first day back in the office, you got to check all those piled up emails. House Democrats released an email written by Jeffrey Epstein in which he claims that Donald Trump, quote, knew about the girls. It's bombshell news that legal experts are calling duh. This week's Epstein documents are obviously very dark.
Trump escalated the meltdown by turning JD's embarrassment into a shared mission. If JD didn't want the public laughing, Trump made it a political objective. The problem? Turning jokes into a political enemy automatically crowns comedy as the people's champion. Anyone who hadn't watched Colin Jost in months tuned in immediately. Some didn't even know who J.D. Vance was until laughter taught them. The worst possible first imper. Silence could have saved them. A shrug could have saved them. Pretending not to care could have saved them. But pride claimed center stage, powering the story like an engine fueled exclusively by humiliation and caffeine. Weeks passed, and the saga warped from political news into cultural mythology. Students turned the meltdown into media studies presentations. Politics podcasts recycled it as a recurring segment. Late-night shows referenced it casually while roasting someone else entirely. The event stopped being a story and became a personality trait, a digital scar that refuses to fade.
Emails, Epstein's brother asked if Vladimir Putin has a picture of Donald Trump giving oral sex to someone named Bubba, which was an old nickname for Bill Clinton. So I guess that's one job Trump has created. I don't know if that oral sex story is true, but I do know that image is burned in my brain like that scene from The Shining. According to one released email, Jeffrey Epstein claimed that he was, quote, the one able...
Colin circled back, calm as ever. Trump, of course, couldn't stand the idea that someone else's embarrassment was stealing the spotlight without him. His involvement ballooned until he wasn't defending JD anymore, he was defending his own notoriety. Instead of supporting the panicked Vance, Trump turned the meltdown into a me versus the entertainment industry saga. JD was reduced to a side character in his own story. And the more Trump tried to control the narrative, the more JD got tied to him rather than his own political identity. The internet began linking their names automatically, not because of policy or history, but because neither could let a joke go. Before long, Trump and J.D. Vance had become a comedic duo nobody asked for, two men who declared war on a television sketch. Meme culture adjusted accordingly. JD became the guy who got roasted. Trump became the guy who volunteered for the roast, too. Together, they turned into living symbols of what happens when powerful men take humor way too seriously. Influence? Status? Power? None of it mattered. The joke ruled all.
Lavender carpet, which matched the color of his tie, and also the length. They also rolled out a mobile McDonald's truck for President Trump's visit, featuring Saudi Arabia's most popular new burger, the McJournalist. President Trump posted that he is bringing back Columbus Day, and as a tribute to Columbus, RFK is bringing back smallpox.
Epstein didn't need to add a thing. Their work was done. Comedy often lands its sharpest, most devastating blows by accident. One calm segment, one casual roast, one quiet grin, and suddenly, two political figures were spiraling in public while the comedians lived rent-free in there. The more JD and Trump tried to reclaim dignity, the further it slipped through their fingers. Outrage doesn't erase humiliation, it writes sequels to it. The only escape was laughter. And that was the one path neither man would take. Eventually, the internet reached the point where the original joke barely mattered. People didn't even need context anymore, just hearing a phrase from that SNL moment triggered instant laughter. J.D. Vance didn't lose to the roast. He lost to how long he stayed mad. Trump didn't lose to SNL. He lost to how hard he tried to turn a comedy sketch into a national crisis. That became the cautionary tale of the decade: never let the internet know a joke got to you. Once they smell it, it's over. Pride is flammable, and the internet is a flamethrower. J.D. Vance became famous not for policies or speeches, but for being unable to brush off a punchline. Trump became infamous for amplifying the disaster, turning mockery into a cultural phenomenon. Together, they didn't defeat SNL, they accidentally promoted it.
I just have to say, in general, I don't really believe in conspiracies because as a member of the Illuminati, I know that we, the lizard people, control everything. And it's really hard to believe that Trump was so oblivious that he didn't notice his good friend was running an international pedophile ring. Though I guess Trump is the one guy on earth who thinks YMCA is a straight anthem. On a basic level, it's just shocking how many alleged pedophiles Trump was friends with.
Time eventually dulled the headlines, but the internet never forgot. SNL moved on. Colin Jost found new targets. Scandals rose and fell. Yet every time a political figure overreacted to comedy, someone, somewhere whispered, "Remember J.D. Vance?" It became shorthand for ego sensitivity, a cultural measuring stick for losing your cool in front of the world. And in every retelling, Trump hovered nearby, not as a villain, not as a hero, but as the man who poured jet fuel on a spark simply because he couldn't resist the pull of the spotlight. J.D. Vance tried to rebrand. Policy speeches, confident interviews, staged photo ops, he attempted to rebuild his image brick by brick. But every effort carried the faint shadow of that SNL moment. The internet has a long memory and an infinite sense of humor. You can erase a press release, but you can't erase a meme. Trump, ever the attention magnet, moved on to new feuds and new drama. Yet this saga clung to him like a sticker that wouldn't peel off. He didn't cause the meltdown, he amplified it. And in doing so, he proved just how badly he needed to be at the center of every spectacle, even someone else's embarrassment.
President Biden and Donald Trump, seen here burning the last of their classified documents, met at the White House for almost 2 hours. But keep in mind, 90 minutes of that was just them struggling to stand up. Donald Trump posted on Truth Social that he wasn't scared of going to jail for violating a gag order, saying, "I will gladly become a modern-day Nelson Mandela." Unfortunately for Halloween.
In the end, neither man was defeated by television. They were defeated by their refusal to let television be funny. That was the twist. Comedy wasn't cruel. The punchlines weren't career-ending. The jokes didn't bury them. Their pride did. They served the internet free content on a silver platter and practically begged the world to keep watching. The camera didn't pick sides. It didn't tilt to humiliate anyone. It just sat there politely, like a waiter refilling water while the chaos unfolded. One man puffed up with outrage. The other doubled down on the performance. Suddenly, every living room became its own episode of reality comedy. It wasn't scripted, but it was cinematic. It wasn't planned, but it was perfect. Every dramatic pause, every overconfident smirk, every protest masquerading as seriousness became a joke nobody intended. That's why it worked. A stage designed for logic and persuasion became a playground for ego. Neither man could admit the simplest truth: humor always wins. Not because it's smarter or kinder, but because it doesn't care about status. When ego walks in wearing armor, humor walks in barefoot and steals the show. Nobody remembers who tried the hardest. They remember who tried too hard. That's why this moment will live longer than the headlines it generated, not because it changed the world, but because it revealed it. The spotlight doesn't expose weakness. Reactions do. Audiences don't cling to perfection. They cling to the unraveling. Television didn't destroy them. It simply watched while pride delivered the knockout. In the court of public perception, the comedians didn't win. Pride lost. And once it lost, the joke didn't.